game number 1 after showing our 2 junglers. Now let's jump into it right now.
Waiting for the bans to start here. Afreeca Freecs opening up with a Morgana ban. Very interesting to see how Tahm Kench goes in these drafts. Remember that Gen G love their Ezreal Tahm Kench. The Ezreal gonna see the first ban. Afreeca started prioritizing this pick, even though classically hasn't been a happy pick for Tucson in particular. He's had some good games recently. With the Ezreal ban, imagine a champion like Jhin, which is in a bit of play, does start to decrease in priority, and they will ban the entire Ezreal Tahm Kench. For note, this season, Ruler is 8-2 on Ezreal, Core JJ 8-2 on Tahm Kench. Not always have they been paired together, but there is a lot open in this draft. The Aatrox is gone, but the junglers are all available.
All the junglers and Swain, and I like this pick. You give Gen G, you know, hey, go ahead, pick Nocturne, pick Taliyah, your choice. We'll get the other one because it's going to be available. Or we can just see your jungle pick and another pick and have a couple of extra really strong picks that are still left available. They will prioritize the Swain. We've seen a lot of teams doing this. Looks like Gen G gonna pick up Taliyah here instead of the Nocturne. Will they leave? Okay, never mind. Throw that out the window. Maybe we'll be seeing a mid lane Taliyah. They'll just take both of the junglers.
And will Kuro look at this and say it's LeBlanc time? Because Kuro's LeBlanc, one of the best in the LCK, and LeBlanc a famous pick into the Taliyah. You're right, they take both, and now Afreeca Freecs, they have a flex pick. What else can they piece together in this draft? A lot of bans towards Tucson's champion pool. Alistar, a classic pick for him. Could be the bot lane of Swain and Alistar. We will wait and see on that. I'm excited to see the LeBlanc from Kuro. I know we're calling it early, and it's not the most likely. He's hovered it recently, but we haven't seen it in the LCK in a little while.
Trundle coming in here against, most likely, the Nocturne. You know, again, there's a lot of stuff that can be flexed, but would expect the Taliyah in the mid lane.
What about the Nocturne in the mid lane from Fly?
Yeah.
Well, that is the one that's an interesting one because of it being Fly and him loving some off-center picks. We'll wait and see. He's got heal. And, you know, when I see Flash heal, I think of Orianna and Aurelion Sol. So we'll wait and see if the summoner spell from Fly is a Telltale one. Could be the Taliyah as well, of course. Right now, though, the Shen is taken, so they have Nocturne, Shen, and Taliyah. Already alarm bells about the global comp. But this is the sort of comp that Afreeca and many teams on red side have been unable to actually make work when the ults are available. So wait and see if Gen G can use the tools they put together.
Let's just go ahead and draft Galio and GP as well. Yeah. Just get 5 semi-globals onto the map and just say, hey, the hell with it. The hell with the lanes. Who really cares? We'll just find a way to put these champions into whatever lane they go in.
Gotta say, you look at the team of Afreeca, and it's not 3 people you want to dive into as Nocturne. So compositionally, the Nocturne isn't necessarily bearing a lot of fruit, but enough snowball, good things can happen. Speaking of snowball, Talon's going to be banned against Kuro. Champion he's been practicing in recent memory. We see another Mundo counter ban here with the Gnar. See what that all means. Gen G, when it comes to the tier list, Varus is the strongest and also aiming's best pick in recent memory. He's expecting that Alistar and Swain might be the duo he's facing, so we'll just take the Varus for the strongest possible laning phase.
There's also the chance that we could have seen the Taliyah Shen if things wanted to get really out of hand. But once you see the Varus coming in, that kind of solidifies things for the bot lane. Thinking about it here.
Come on.
After seeing it, I just said it solidifies things. There it is. The LeBlanc comes in. He knows. Almost definitely he's going up against Taliyah. Unless we do see the swap of the Nocturne mid Taliyah jungle. We'll have to wait and see if maybe Gen G respond to this in that way.
Oh, I was hoping for it. I've been calling for it for a while. Finally see the LeBlanc here. Will he be made to look the fool, though? Because of, like you mentioned, the ability to swap away some picks. Speaking of picks here, Afreeca going to have to blind pick a top laner. We're going to blind pick the Gangplank. I heard the Korean caster gasping at a blind pick Gangplank, but remember, he's lane Gangplank into Darius and won that matchup at Rift Rivals going into the Resolve tree. That's probably going to be top lane Rise from Cuvée to try to dunk on it. This is actually Kane and Cuvée on some pretty trademark picks at this point. And it does mean that Fly, for now at least, has a matchup he's not going to feel great about.
Come on, do the swap. Just get that Taliyah out of that lane. You never want to do it. The mid Nocturne's not that bad. You can spell shield stuff. Taliyah's just going to get walked on. Oh, I don't want to. Oh, man.
You still got 8 seconds for your prophecy.
I'm happy for Kuro, right? I'm happy for the Afreeca Freecs, but Gen G, they're going to go with what they're practiced with. No swaps are going to come in here. We will have Talia up against LeBlanc. We'll see if Fly can hold the mid lane down and try not to die.
See if it's Resolve Tree this time from the Gangplank. Gen G's early picks here, stealing away Nocturne and Talia, turned on them a bit. As Afreeca Freecs happy to take the Swain into the bot lane. Swain and Alistar, a huge engage lane. And now they get the LeBlanc, so it feels like when it comes to coming out a nose ahead and pick and ban, have to like what Afreeca Freecs have done on the blue side.
You really do. I admire the confidence of taking the Talia into this one. But I mentioned it before, the second you see the Varus and you know that Talia basically is going to go mid lane, seemed like the very easy pickup for Kuro. And, well, you mentioned going aggressive up against Gen G. Picking LeBlanc into Gen G is definitely one of the best ways to get aggressive. And once again, a relatively tanky lineup up against the Nocturne on the opposite side. We've seen that a lot from these teams that let the Nocturne go and then just decide to pick this way into it. But guys, looks like the game is ready. The countdown has started. So let's jump into game number 1 of Afreeca Freecs up against Gen G.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Nice to be here. If you guys are just joining on the VODs or whatever, we will have Kuro playing the LeBlanc in the mid lane with Ignite. He's going all in here up against Fly's Talia, who took the heal after all.
Vision had a lot of options, but again, the Gen G heist was taking both Talia and Nocturne on the first round on red side. Recently, most of the good news from Ambition was passive farming on the Sejuani, then body blocking flankers during team fights. Ambition in regional qualifier kind of form. But now onto the Nocturne. We'll see how that one looks for him. I believe, 1-0 on the Nocturne this season, but Nocturne been losing more than he's winning recently in the LCK. More and more teams banning Swain and other picks, leaving the Nocturne open, which would have been unthinkable pre-Rift Rivals.
This is definitely a very interesting start to the bottom lane because not just, you know, the two bottom lanes are here, but it just shows so much about the jungle pathing as well. They know. Also a lot of action down here in the beginning. Tucson is going to get the worst of that trade in the end, but will be able to heal up. But yeah, it shows that, okay, no leashes are going to happen on the bottom side, and the two junglers should be starting top lane. But again, with Trundle, you never really know. He could have tried to solo down the red, maybe aiming, and Tucson wanted to get ahead. So could be some mind games starting from this bottom line.
When it comes to Scuttle Crab, though, your first thought is that bot side Scuttle Crab will be where the two junglers coalesce, because likely you'd have to say that both of them started top side, and obviously the side of Afreeca knows that Cuvée was helping leash, and thus top side was where the Nocturne started. Wait and see if there is any battles around that Scuttle, as Talia is already moving forward, unleashing the red here.
Yeah, did not have a ward available, so that's an easy way to check. You'll know if your rocks hit anything in there and know that the red buff is available. But Spirit will see the red buff being leashed and know that that was checked. So some more mind games coming in, as both teams know that Trundle should be at red right now.
Excited to watch the bot lane as it develops. Alistar Swain, one of my favorite Swain lanes, is that wasn't the headbutt he wanted.
Yeah, now he's going to be engaged upon here. Gets the ground pound in. The Ignite coming down onto Ruler. Here comes Spirit. There it is. The flash on in. And the Trundle gets the press to the attack. One more will do it. And there it is. The flash forward. First blood goes to aiming. Level 2 for so many members, but here's Fly from the mid lane. Level 3 Talia. Huge knockup from Tucson, but the flash forward and the kill on the Spirit on the back foot. That's going to be a huge turnaround as the double kill goes to Gen G. 3 for 1 in the bottom side.
Wonderful collapse by the side of Gen G. The rock surfing may have been nerfed, but he's going to get there faster than the LeBlanc. Could have a hope to its Ignite LeBlanc as well. We see a teleport coming through to the bot side, I assume because the minion wave is big. We'll try to understand that one. Keen's there. We're going to get the replay of how this all happened. The first headbutt from Tucson, a bit of a head scratcher. The second one much better. Watching this extended play, just baiting for Spirit, but they need to use so much, and they go so far down the lane. Ruler holding on till after the Ignite had worn off for the heal. They may have got the kills, but because LeBlanc can't follow as fast as the Taliyah, ends up being a great collapse by the side of Gen G.
It's a good try by Tucson to get them all back, but it was just not enough. As really fantastic collapse you mentioned. The mechanics were there from Core JJ, as well as Fly. Puts that seismic shove in the perfect spot, does not miss. Gets the burst damage down, and
what a first purchase. At 4 minutes, he has Merc Treads, which allow you to lane against the LeBlanc so much more comfortably.
Oh, yeah.
And there are even boots made for roaming, the boots too. It's for a bit more flat movement speed. The LeBlanc versus the Taliyah matchup is supposed to be one where you're dunking on Taliyah at every moment. When it's double buffs and Merc Treads, the dunking is at a minimum.
Who expected this one to start off this fiery with this much action? It wasn't me. I wasn't the one who expected this. We saw Spirit heading down to the bottom side again. It looks like maybe with the flashes down, he was looking for a play, but the lane was pushing towards Gen G, and so he'll just get some vision down. Now, Fly doesn't have his flash either, and he has double buff, so this would be a fantastic kill to pull off. They're going to bring in Tucson and aiming for the pullback onto Fly. A 4-man gank coming on in. It's going to start with that, and there's the follow-up. Can pull him back as easy as you'd like. Gets the streak, too. 450 gold over to Spirit.
That's when your mid laner says, I'm going to disconnect if you don't get rid of these double buffs. Well, guess what? They got rid of the double buffs. No more double buffs on the Taliyah. Happy times for the side of Afreeca Freecs, but to say it was a big investment would be an understatement.
I mean, big wave coming down here on the bottom side. I was more so surprised that it looked like Fly had no idea, or I suppose he thought he would be safe. Didn't expect every single person on the Rift to come over here. But the bottom side was missing, and you don't have flashes to Taliyah. There's no escape if any CC comes down onto you.
His heal was up, but using heal there would not have got him through it, so he goes down even with the Merc Treads. Fly shut down in terms of getting the laning control even more extensively over the LeBlanc level 6. Still no shopping trips for Kuro, though. He's still in mid lane.
Chilling on the corrupting pot. Says he doesn't need anything just yet. See what he decides to go for here eventually, but we're going to have to wait and see. He's hitting level 6 now.
Finally going to be going for that shop if he can get away with it. Bit of a bait going on in mid lane. Ambition is level 6 through all the disarray at 6 minutes 35, so he's certainly ready to swoop in, and he hasn't been spotted yet, so enemy might not expect how early this is. Level 4 on the bot side.
Only flash for Tucson here. Fly is going to show them that he's here, though, on the control ward. We'll take that away and decide against diving.
It was a bait. They just wanted the Taliyah to see if the Alistar would use combo onto Taliyah, and then Nocturne swoops in for a kill. But going to be dissected pretty well by the side of Afreeca Freecs. 2,500 gold to split between the two teams, and Spirit is going to be happy enough to slowly farm. See if we can see the value in the globals here. There's a mid lane Taliyah and a jungle Nocturne. We've had teams with Gangplank, Shen and Nocturne not be able to pull off elegant play at level 6 with their ultimates. We'll be able to judge Fly and Ambition pretty soon, if you ask me.
Definitely is going to be part of the reason why you draft these two champions. They need to do something with their globals. There's just so many different opportunities and lanes to try to go for. You also have the Shen to try to join in and create a ruckus somewhere else on the map. We'll see where they decide to go. For now, it looks like some focus to the bottom side for Afreeca.
Amy and Tucson have been zoned for quite a long time here. They can't move up. They're very worried about Nocturne and Ewer's bot side because of the play that Taliyah made, and to the tune of now 24 CS. We know that Varus does very well into the medium to short-range champions, and Swain and Alistar certainly are those. So Amy's been giving up CS for multiple waves. Unless something changes, this gold lead's only going to get bigger for Ruler.
As I was saying, the focus down here on the bottom side, Kuro and Spirit looking for the gank here onto Ambition, and even better Fly. I mean, he does have his flash now, but looks like they've read into this very, very well. And actually the rotation coming in from the bottom side from Gen G, looking for Kuro here, but he is, okay,
Ooh.
Denied. Get away from me, says the Trundle.
So much investment in vision control. Bot side, the Nocturne spotted on blue. The collapse for just a control ward. Does mean that Aiming and Tucson can finally get some minions on the bot side. They've had precious few in the last 2 to 3 minion waves. But presence here for Gen G bot side because of the pressure of the Nocturne. You wonder at what point you're being too safe against Nocturne. If you're Afreeca Freecs, famous last words when you go on to get ganked and fall even further behind, but in pro play it's all about using incomplete information, and Aiming and Tucson have been so safe in the last 3 to 5 minutes.
Sitting back here, we've seen this bottom side gank so many times, right? If you're not sure if they're going to come bottom, it's better to just play it super safe. Even the Swain after hitting level 6 and stopwatch, I mean, he only has a Ruby Crystal at boots, and if there are 4 people under your turret, it doesn't matter if you have the stopwatch. You're going to die anyway. So they're playing it extremely safe. They're looking for the top side, actually, on a Keen. Here's the Shen 2 just to add to it. And there it is. Keen not even going to flash. Knew he was dead. Good collapse there in the top side.
Good use of the ultimates that time by Gen G. Ambition held onto his ult bot side. Use the top side, they get a kill. Keen will have to teleport back to lane, and he's now level 8. So unfortunately for him, unable to have that shorter death timer at this point in the game. Spectre's Cal, a bit of respect for Cuvée, but of course no use against Ambition. Poor JJ roams through mid lane, and no punish on the bot side available for Afreeca Freecs.
Kuro just following them, seeing exactly which direction they're going to go. Always a fun thing you can do on the LeBlanc. Bit of breathing room down here on the bottom side, as Aiming and the bunch will be able to push in, get some farm going here. Still a lot of stopwatches available. We didn't see the Gangplank take it this time around in the top side, but a lot of other members, especially the bottom lane for Afreeca.
Tricky game to consider where this game is going late game. In terms of team fights, Afreeca Freecs have good backline access. I feel like they have more damage overall, which seems like a weird thing to say. Problem is that Afreeca have, of course, very low ability to take Baron because they don't have a marksman. These Swain bot lane comps do struggle in killing that objective, and they won't always find access to the fights that they want. Gen G are going to probably be confident to go slow and steady as always. Here we go.
Loving to engage, but Ruler going to take a lot of damage. The TP coming on in, and Ruler is so low in the backside.
Oh!
The Demon Flare nearly gets him. The flash on in, and the final zap to the face will get him, but Cuvé's here. Stopwatch is going to be perfect for Aiming to keep him alive. There's the taunt, though, and Talia doing so much damage, but it's not enough. Actually, the Rise is going to go down here. Kuro going to get low, and they finally take him out, and Aiming somehow is still alive. No more stopwatch this time around, and he will get him, but a huge play in the bottom side from both teams, and finally they'll take out Spirit 2. That is going to be a 3 for 3, it looks like, in the bottom side, and Keen is pushing the top side.
He's the only one who couldn't RSVP to that fight. A 5v4 and ends up going 3 for 3. You'll take it if you're the Afreeca Freecs as Keen continues to get the free farm. So much blood in this game, and what we expect to be a very bloodless game. Both these teams known for being pretty inactive in the early game. We asked for Afreeca to be aggressive. Turns out that Gen G were feeling it as well.
I mean, you can see Ruler stepping forward as the roam is coming in from the middle side, but they get interrupted actually in the river. Little fight happening in the river, which stops both of them from coming down, but then Ruler, or rather Cuvée, gets there first with this TP.
The reason why Ruler thought he was safe was that he wasn't actually in headbutt Pulve range. Tucson taxied to a minion, then flash Pulve to get the start on Ruler, and he had no way to go down. Then we have this Fiesta, lots of bruisers fighting, an extended fight. Aiming finally goes down on the back end. Poor JJ's two-man taunt was beautiful in the middle of this fight. And the end result, 3 for 3, with the Gangplank staying top.
The seismic shove from Fly was really just unfortunate for him. It was so close to hitting 2 people. He got a flash out of 1 and just barely missed Aiming. Had he gotten that, it would have been a much better fight in the favor of Gen G, but it was pixels off onto the second player Aiming, who didn't use his flash there, so. Bit unfortunate, but the Talia, you got to be spot on with those skill shots.
I think Afreeca Freecs are going to really like the 1-3-1 this game. The problem is they don't have a marksman in the 3. They're going to have Swain in the 3. Gangplank and LeBlanc can potentially get to item timings where you can't itemize against both. So it's all about lane assignment from that point onwards. And Rise and Talia can definitely fall behind in that particular variable. So that's going to be very interesting to track as the game goes on. Again, because the 3 is going to be Alistair, Trundle, and Swain, they can't really siege in a 3. But the side lanes is definitely where right now I think Afreeca have the biggest lead in terms of team comp.
They definitely do. Gangplank farming extremely well, but more importantly, the mid lane. Fly's been doing a lot more roaming with his global on the Talia, whereas Kuro's just kind of been sitting there, catching all the waves and farming up really well for a LeBlanc. Trying to bait in Core JJ here, but Spirit shows his face. They'll at least get some nice vision down here on the bottom side.
They pound down, they disengage. See what the next fight is forced by. Mountain Drake, spawned of course the first one, and no Drakes have been started. First 14 minutes in the game. Top lane has been an island this time. No visits from either jungler, apart from the 1 kill that the Nocturne pulled off earlier with his ultimate. See if there's going to be any attention to the Rift Herald. Right now it feels like Gen.G, that's where the brunt of their vision is, top side. Afreeca have their bot side, but to no great benefit so far in the neutrals.
We're sitting here, 15-minute mark just passed, and already 12 kills in this matchup. In a normal game between these two, you could expect maybe 1 kill, but actually it's been 12. So 12 times the fun, 12 times the action. Gen.G, at this very important 15-minute mark, is going to be ahead about 1,000 gold. So good for them. They're pretty far ahead, and they would be even farther ahead if this Gangplank wasn't in the game. At least they did force him not to take the Kleptomancy this time around.
The best thing about early fights as well, Valdez, is it means more kills going to come in the game because flashes and stopwatches are on cooldown that wouldn't be in other games where we'd have flash and stopwatch available on 8 players. It's been so much action so far that the damage is very likely to stick the next time we see an engagement. And speaking of engages, Afreeca looking for one.
Their vision control is something we kind of meme about for Spo TV, talking about it every single time, but they didn't talk about it this time, and actually this is one of the games where I notice it the most. They have so much control. Speaking of which, they're just gonna bully Keen actually in the top side. There's the Shen 2, and as easy as you'd like, they get another kill onto the Gangplank, as hopeless as possible in the top lane.
Set-piece play, very nicely engineered. It was as there was multiple people showing on the bot side, you remember. They see the Trundle, they back away, and Shen says, let's just double down on top side. We'll get a kill, we'll get a turret, and we'll get the Rift Herald. So in terms of trades, they're able to pick up the first turret blood, the first brick, as we call it in Korea. An answering turret comes through, but they got the kill, and they'll get the Rift Herald as well. So Gen.G, in terms of tempo, do trade up.
They definitely do, and Kuro getting a bit frisky there, but Core JJ trying to be sneaky. Afreeca, they're trying to get whatever objective they can on the back foot of losing that trade. We'll pick up a Mountain Drake. Talked a lot about how these different compositions with Swain and the AD carry role especially are kind of lacking that Baron damage. The Mountain will be very good for them if they can get a lead on the blue side.
Side lanes and team fights. That's what Afreeca Freecs are going to have to look for this game, but Gen.G are going to be a lot more flexible. They have terrain creation, they also have the paranoia for setup, and while Ruler hasn't been hitting item timing particularly early, he's already got insurance. He's got the Merc Treads, he's got the stopwatch available, as does Core JJ. They can diminish the burst and get Ruler into a free auto situation here. I think Gen.G going to be very happy as Kuro looking for picks. Not going to get one just now.
You can see at the bottom that a lot of invading actually from the Trundle on top of the Nocturne over on the right side. That's that area where I was saying they had really good vision control. Since then, Gen.G has been able to get a little bit of control back over in that area, but all the gankings that have been happening from both of the junglers are actually, they've been successful. 2 for 2 for Spirit, 3 for 3 for Ambition. Partially just because whenever they go for a gank, they kill someone, as it's been nothing but action. And now Afreeca is hitting their sights up on the top side. Talia not as good of a wave clearer after the changes to her kit. And so they're looking for this top lane turret.
They're going to be able to get it. Question is what happens next as Gen.G are all lying in wait. So many people setting up around the top side as QV takes the minions bot side and Gangplank in the mid. No other objectives to be taken on the top side yet. No easy ones anyway, so QV some free autos bot side, but soon to be shadowed by Keen.
Yeah, Keen's going to be there now. Gets there in time. Kuro returns to the mid lane. Highest farmer in this game has been QV. Did show up to the one fight with the teleport, but outside of that, he's just been really good about clearing the waves with not all that much pressure in the top side against a gangplank.
Should note, this is of course the 2018 LeBlanc. I know we have so many discussions about how to describe LeBlanc as the old new, if you will, but we call it 2018 LeBlanc. Changes in the late game is very good poke rotation and instant poke with just W in QR onto someone like Varus and disengage. Well, they're probably going to have little health. Tucson really wanted to interrupt the Rift Herald, but not going to happen. That means that in a siege, this LeBlanc has much more of a role than the previous LeBlanc. They need to stick around in order to get the full burst rotation down. So when we see level 16, Kuro will have some identity when the siege does begin.
Definitely makes her a bit better. It's another game that we're seeing here with mid to Leah too, and so far Fly, he's been looking to go for other lane ganks, and here he is once again with the rest of the team. The Trundle's here though, and Ambition gets super low. Keen's still alive, is gonna finally die on the back foot, but Fly jumping on in too will be punished, and that goes the opposite way. Ruler all alone means that he has to flash away from Kuro, and I don't think it's over yet as the Chains of Corruption is forced to come in here. The Realm Warp gets them just to safety, but here comes Kuro once again.
He really wants it.
The flash on in, he gets the stopwatch. Should have known that he had the stopwatch actually, but at least with that will push him off the rift.
This Afreeca pick comp in the early to mid game is rolling, and it seems like Gen G can't get their formation down, and that's because Ambition dives in, but this time there's backup. It's no longer just wailing away on the defenseless gangplank 3v1. This is when the grouping phase has begun for Gen G, and I think Gen G will definitely take a chill pill after this one, because no longer can you just get free kills on the bot lane.
It's a good setup there as well by Keen to have his barrels in position to deal with this kind of gank. Seemed like they knew exactly that this was going to come in. A really nice response from them. Ruler in an awkward spot is forced to burn Flash, Chains of Corruptions, and his stopwatch to get away from the LeBlanc.
Control ward vision into an Alistair or LeBlanc CC chain is probably going to be death onto Ruler, who now will have to saunter away. Ruler's had to go for a lot of these low damage builds recently because trying to play marksman in the current meta, as Reckless and many people around the world have realized is tricky, has gone Merc Treads Hex Drinker after his Blade of the Ruin King, which already is a more defensive itemization choice than the Varus would like to be going. He probably wants to be going Rageblade into, say, Nashal's Tooth and going AP Varus, but can't get away with it in the laning phase, so can't go that way. He's got a Knight's Vow now, and hopefully in future fights he'll have a Shen ultimate, because I think using an Ambition for the pick is probably a thing of the past.
You'll notice that Kuro was down here in the bottom side, but he decides I cannot hold this alone, so he's just going to let that big wave push in with the Rise and let him go. We'll see if he wants to actually commit to killing QV. Kind of doubt it here. It's too big of a wave, but meanwhile in the mid side, as Fly was not there, they're getting a nice bit of damage onto the mid turret, and actually Kuro is still waiting for QV here. It looks like he was really scared to fight him, and so just waited until he got out of that lane.
I think he really wanted to pick up the kill, like you mentioned, but ends up giving up a cannon minion, unable to pick up that kill. Trying to get the pick on the side lane. QV already has his Archangels turned into a Seraph, so the kill pressure there is not going to be massive. You're better against Rise than you were before as the LeBlanc, because you no longer have to stay around and take an extra overload. You can just poke from range and not be as shut down by the W, the Rune Prison on the Rise. But now, back to the same lane assignment we've had for a while. Keen is back in the bot lane. Wave clearing. His build still slowed down. Still only one item completed on Keen. But he's building towards two big ones. Spirit Visage and the Sterix is what we're likely to see.
Afreeca with so much pick, they would really love to get onto Ruler in the backside. You see Kuro doing that burst damage, barely using any of his mana, but Core JJ goes below 50% health just like that. Afreeca, of course, they would love to get more picks like that before they start any objective, but with Gen G playing very passive, the damage coming down, they decide to just go ahead and take the Mountain Drake with no pressure. That's going to be their second of the game. Really good for Afreeca.
Definitely helpful, given we've already mentioned their Baron taking speed is not the best. It isn't going to allow them to steal away a Baron like these Kindred drafts have been doing with multiple Mountain Drakes in recent days. But it will also help the wave clear, which could end up being an issue for them. LeBlanc better in this iteration on wave clear, but definitely not fantastic on the wave clear front. Has to commit more than most mid lane mages would want to. Items starting to roll in. Look at aiming, actually. Did skip over a second item Zhonya's for going for this Banshee Veil. Really, really concerned about Taliyah and Ryze, and probably reasonably justified in being so.
Yeah, the Banshee Veil going to be better against all of that linked CC. Of course, you get locked down by a stun or something like that, so you're not really going to have an opportunity to use your Zhonya's right away. So it's a little bit safer as a first item. You get a little bit of armor from the Scepter's Arm Guard first, and then you go into the Zhonya's third if you really want to. So he's just going to be fine on this Swain, not going to be too worried about going into these fights. Definitely takes a little bit away from his team fighting, as getting into the backline and Zhonyaing as a Swain is one of the best things you can do, not just for consistent damage on everybody, but just zone control as the Swain.
If you think about the sacrifice, the latitude he had to go Banshee Veil here is that for once, we're not looking at too many sources of healing on the side of Gen G, so Morellonomicon less craved onto the Swain, so the Banshee Veil probably going to be in the position of that earlier Morellonomicon on the Swain. I think it's probably a good read. If the comp he's in and the comp he's against, he'll get away with it. Afreeca Freecs going to get away with taking down the mid lane outer turret. No mean feat with no marksman. Being back to the side lane. Game definitely slowing down after relentless action in the first 12 minutes or so.
It's kind of the way things go nowadays. Not necessarily trying to push in too fast if you don't have to. Keen versus Cuvee, always an interesting matchup. Cuvee winning this big time so far. Pops the Sterix and Ambition in an awkward spot. Look at this. This trade is still going. The Overload is going to miss from Cuvee, but he pushes the Gangplank out big time.
He's got the Void Staff, so he's happy to take aggressive trades, and Keen's build was delayed. He went the Resolve Tree for the lane as a blind pick, and obviously it has been a rough time with all the assistance that Ambition and Core JJ was applying Cuvee, so Cuvee's showing a lot of aggression, but not going to be able to turn into too much turret damage just yet.
Yeah, not just yet, especially with 3 members trying to go down to the bottom side. Actually make that 4 as the Trundle was hanging around down on the bottom side river. Cuvee so far on the rise is 2-0. He was one of these big players that really loved it in the top lane. It's not super popular, but he's had success on it before, and we begin to see the reason why.
Afreeca Freecs desperately want to start a 5v5 fight because Ruler has gone maybe the lowest damage Varus build just to survive. He knows he's going to get popped by LeBlanc. When LeBlanc hits level 16, it's such short cooldown. You can get so much damage done for almost no risk, and that's what's prompted Ruler, who is also heal Varus this game, to go ultra defensive. So for now at least, you think about what they have, which is a lot of magic resist and a lot of damage. You feel pretty good about ignoring Ruler and killing everyone else on the side of Gen G with your MR and damage. So given that, this is the time Afreeca would love to be team fighting. Not going to be the easiest unless Tucson can pull off a big flank.
Well, Tucson, he's known for that. We'll see if he can do a little bit better than Ignar, who's having some trouble on the Alistar flanks that we've seen before. Still waiting for something else to happen. Remember, we had 12 kills at 15 minutes. Now we do have 4 more kills in the last 12 minutes, so things have certainly slowed down.
Well, let's talk a bit about the meta, because we do see Ruler going ultra low damage build. Right now we're seeing some action be threatened, but probably not going to see too much, although Spirit is going to be fishing again. Lots of posturing, but no true commitment to the fight just yet. Ryze and GP could join at a moment's notice. We don't see a lot of marksman play for games like this, where you're Ruler, you have to go a tank build, you don't do too much.
Oh boy, they get the pull there onto Ruler. They blow his chains of corruptions, but just more posturing as they're trading back and forth.
If your macro is not solid and you have a no damage tank Varus like we see now, you just lose a game. You get rolled over by the bruises, the game ends. That's why a lot of teams drop the marksman, because at 2 items, Ruler is not very useful. But at 3 or 4, they have the ability to take Baron, they have the ability to siege, they can close the game. That's the risk you make as Ambition.
Ambition decides he's just going to give away his life as well. They weren't sure exactly. Really good vision control once again by Afreeca. He had no idea where they were.
It's definitely a mistake from them, and this is going to be the invitation for the Baron.
Yeah, with double Mountain Drake especially. And Tucson waiting in the wings here. You'll notice Core JJ is looking for him, but he's hiding. He's a very sneaky cow from behind.
They don't know he's there. They only know now.
Okay, gonna try to get onto the back line. It's gonna miss the knock up. There it is, finally onto Cuvée though, and the Baron is gonna go their way as well as the kill onto Cuvée. Looking to push forward onto Fly, and oh boy, the wall is gonna be interrupted. Keen on the back line is gonna survive with all of that health from the Sterix. So an extra 2 kills in the Baron, not half bad for Afreeca.
Gen G were trying to lose the minimum as Ruler got items, but Ambition's mistake being caught is really going to heap pain on them. They're trying to 5v5 with a tank Varus. It doesn't work.
Yep.
Kuro starts to zone, and this inner turret in mid lane is going down.
I think I know who we're going to be seeing subbed in for game number 2. If this does not go the way of Gen G very fast. Now, Gen G was ahead 3,000 gold, but Afreeca take the lead, and they have the Baron now for 3 minutes. Let's see how this all happened again. Really nice flank from Tucson.
Tucson's so smart. He's not trying to contest the control ward. It only exists to allow him to continue his flank. Headbutts in the Ryze. They know if they focus down Ryze and they kill Ryze, they can just run at any member. There's no more defense on the side of Gen G. Fly tries for the in-combat. Weaver's Wall worked pretty well earlier today. It does not work there. Spirit gets spooked by how much damage his GP takes and flashes in. Oops on that one.
Yeah.
But otherwise, exactly what Afreeca Freecs were looking for.
His Alistar is just so clean. We've seen it from earlier on this year especially. It's part of the reason why they were able to do so well and make it to the finals of LCK. I feel like he had a little bit of a dip in performance. He played a little bit less Alistar, but then he went back to what he's good at. You know, the Rakan started to become more available as it gets banned, less on the blue side. The Alistar, also a big pick for him, and you guys can see exactly why. He knows exactly how to play it. It was so clean. Headbutting in the Ryze, gets the double pulverize, waits to hit on his E to finish off the Ryze, and here he comes again with the flash onto the Ryze. He's gonna knock him up. Nowhere for Cuvée to go. He just blows up in the back line, and now aiming and Spirit and Keen, they're all so tanky. They're gonna push everybody away from the inner turret.
What are you gonna do against this cow? Righteous Glory, Ghost, Flash, everything used.
Oh boy.
OJJ almost accidentally dies.
Here comes Kuro again. He hasn't been the star of the game on his own. LeBlanc here, but he's trying to do that damage on the back foot. It's really just been an awesome team game here from Afreeca. Tucson doing his job for the engage. They get their first inhibitor of the game.
So decisive. Righteous Glory, Moby Boots. Tucson knows who he wants. They have the Swain to combo with the Headbutt Pulverize. Cuvée goes down first again, and the chances are just so low for Gen G to make that work. So far behind Valdez. It's so hard for them to fight against all the bruisers, all the earlier power spikes on the side of the Afreeca Freecs. They have the damage to focus down one, and then everyone else out of position because they're trying to spare the blushes of the Ryze.
This is what it looks like when you have a Swain in your composition and you're really far ahead and you have him quite fed up. You've been able to just push him through the mid game without getting too many deaths in the bottom side. It's just any CC, you're going to pull that person in. The pick is so strong with the Swain in your composition, and then he can zone out the rest of everybody by just charging you. And Zhonya's in the back. We've even seen the double stasis at times to control even more space. It's part of the reason why Swain has just gained more popularity here, especially in Korea. But Afreeca now very, very far ahead. They have a super strong push. They're just looking for another pick here.
And Ruler can't even walk up to wave clear. Again, the build, he's gone Hurricane as the third item. He just wants to free auto if the engage from Afreeca doesn't work. There's no better build to go against this team. Varus is the highest damage marksman we've seen in the meta recently. You really want to go for, say, play the Ruin King and a Rage Blade, perhaps. We often see Rapid Fire Cannon play the Ruin King and an Infinity Edge. You do a lot of damage as Varus, but the cost of going into the magic resist here is at the cost of a lot of damage. He needs 4 items here to probably actually take over and be able to be an impact in the fight. And around him, his front line is just dying while he can't put out the damage to justify the Varus pick.
You consider the effectiveness of the Swain versus the Varus. Ruler has been very vocal about how strong the marksmen are in this meta, and I mean, he has the numbers to back it up, right? 8-2 Ezreal, 5-2 Ashe, 4-1 Xayah. Even the Ashe, who doesn't have an escape against all the bruisers and all the crazy amounts of CC that current meta compositions are packing, he's been able to make them work. It's just unfortunately this game, the build he had to go for in the circumstances, he's getting really far behind, and a nice engage once again. Oh, where did the Taliyah go? Didn't even see her on the map there as Kuro finally gets the chance to shine. Take a look at Ruler, who's still alive in here. He's gonna kill the Swain on the backside, finally able to get that moment, but the rest of his team is falling around behind him.
That was the sort of fight the Varus needs, but unfortunately, his front line goes down around it. Here's Kuro.
Trying to get the kill, but he misses the leash, and Ruler says, what are you doing, man? Get the hell away from me. And that means with the Rise Realm Warping behind them, they're going to be in a bad spot here. CoreJT with the dodge field just to make things go for a little bit here. Keen's still trying to go 1v3. Is going to flash over the wall, but again, with that dive on in, they miss the inhibitor, and they don't get the extra objective.
Execution there pretty sloppy from the side of Afreeca. They split their forces because some people are turret diving and some people are fighting around the turret. Watch the replay of how this all happened. They focus onto Cuvée. Kuro just assassinates Fly. One rotation kills him with the electrocute, but then they're diving super far back and tanking turret at the same time. So it's just all a bit sloppy from Afreeca. They actually allow Ruler to put out a lot more auto attacks than he could in previous fights. They eventually get the inhibited turret, but Kuro gets greedy again. He says, I've got most of a health bar, I can do this.
Yeah.
He can't, he misplays it, and that means that Afreeca Freecs are slowed down, and this will allow extra items to go the way of Ruler that may never have been completed this game.
You know that when Afreeca is playing a bit like KT, that they're getting excited, right? They're really feeling it right now. They were just destroying Gen.G on the map and everything. In macro, in plays, in picks. It's been one-sided for sure, but you really have to be careful. You don't want to give this marksman any more items, as you were mentioning. You don't want to give Gen.G a chance. They're only 2,000 gold behind, and the longer this game goes on, definitely we could see Ruler begin to carry this game.
And you start to understand why they go for this slow and steady style, because if you can't just win the early game purely by being better, you just play slow, you rock up with a 4-item AD carry at 35 minutes, and then you win the team fight because you have the more reliable team comp. A marksman comp is what teams have been practicing for 6.5 years in Korea. It is still the standard way to go. Gen.G are very practiced on it, but so much action happened earlier. There's that threat that Ruler can never finish his IE. It's CoreJT.
Okay, he's going to get really low. Decides to actually live on the backside. Has the locket completed. Helps him out in living there and mitigating a lot of that damage, but CoreJT is going to be out of the fight. Still has his ultimate available, though.
Exactly. He gets a free recall because of that fact, Valdez, so they haven't actually forced someone out. It can still be a 5v5. Pings actually from Gen.G onto the Elder because they don't have position on the Baron. They say, well, let's get something in a bad scenario.
Yeah, I mean, you consider Afreeca, if they get the Baron and you try to go in there and it loses, you fail the fight, you probably just lose the game, right? So instead of taking that risk, take away the Elder, which Afreeca would have been really strong with 3 Elemental Drakes already. They could have just gone Baron to Elder to winning the game, or just ending the game. So Gen.G gonna take, once again, kind of the high road and say, come at us, come into our base. We're ready to fight underneath our Nexus turrets, but we're not so sure if you're ready to do the same.
Definitely the moment in the game they regret is Ambition getting picked for the first Baron. If that had happened 5 to 10 minutes later, and this was the Varus we were seeing before there was really any lead for the side of Afreeca, I think they would have been very confident in their chances. They should still be confident to some degree. This Varus finally has hit 4 items. Finally, it doesn't matter that he won an earlier, more Malmortius. He's damn strong at this point in the game, and Afreeca will struggle to get backline access on the Varus when he's fighting around his Nexus turrets, because the terrain will always favor the defender in the Gen.G base.
He's strong and he's tanky now, and you consider the type of damage that Afreeca has, right? They have a nice amount of burst with the LeBlanc and the GP, but can you get onto the back line, really? Ruler's going to have to make a big mistake. I think he's going to have to be near the front and get picked, and that's how you kill him. But if he plays the way he's been playing, you know, let the rest of his team be the front line into the semi-tanky Rise in the front, allow the Shen to put down the dodge circle, allow him to just help you out a little bit. And if he can do the damage in the back line, the Swain's not going to be able to burst him down. The LeBlanc might have bursted someone else down. Maybe she gets out of position again. And they definitely do have a chance to come back in this one. It's exciting to see a game this close as we near the 40-minute mark now.
GP is so tanky, but doesn't do that much damage, Valdez, if you think about it. Trinity Force, the only true damage item. Everything else has plenty of utility packed in on the side of Afreeca Freecs' top laner. And he needs to be able to kill the front line because we already discussed they're not going to get to the back line. Then Ruler's going to be doing plenty of damage to everybody diving in, slowly trying to kill Cuvée, Ambition, and Core JJ. So does the game tip? Have Gen G weathered the storm enough and made a pretty intelligent decision to deny away the Elder Dragon buff and give up the Baron? Elder Dragon is going to chime out in about 12 seconds. About a minute more Baron left for Afreeca. But with this Baron, they're not playing side lane. They haven't even taken down the inhibitor for a second time in the bot lane.
Still looking to go for the push with a minute left on the Baron and nothing left on the Elder Drake. This time, Fly has the vision on the LeBlanc. He's not going to be picked off. Gen G, though, they've been in this spot before. I think they're okay to let an inhibitor go down for now and just weather the storm here. We're still 40 minutes in. They have a decent amount of wave clear with the Rise, Talia, and the Varus, so they could just let the base bleed for a bit. And once again, as I said before, we'll fight you under the Nexus turrets. Feels kind of like 8.1 once again.
Big minion wave pushing the top side as this play happens. Weaver's Wall used.
Nice. Weaver's Wall is going to trap people on the right side, but you notice Tucson is just waiting for that chance for someone to step forward. Once again, another inhibitor will go down with the big minion wave. And let's see if they decide to push in with this wave or just back off and play it safe. They also have a push on the top side.
That's what I'm saying. You can either distract for a while, let the minions do the work, or try to walk there yourself. Seems like Fly able to realize that Afreeca are going to follow in this huge minion wave. 2 cannon minions already. But no Baron buff on this one.
Cannon Barrage is going to be committed to here. Paranoia once again to just zone them out, and you can see how effective that is. I was going to mention how, you know, the Nocturne, the Talia, they're going to have a little bit less effectiveness as Nocturne can't really burst anyone down. The Talia the same as members get really tanky here at 40 minutes, but they definitely have tools in their kit, right? The Weaver's Wall going to be fantastic, the Nocturne ultimate as well, just to put the Paranoia into Afreeca and try to push them away, and it's effective. They keep their top lane alive.
End of the day, they traded a Gangplank ultimate on the side of Keen to zone away Gen G and answer it and then some with Ambition's ultimate, and that caused the disengage like you mentioned, Valdez. So it's going to have to be that utility more than the actual dive for Ambition. Finding a role for Nocturne in these sort of games is so tricky. Again, one of the reasons why teams have been more open to leaving open that Nocturne. We roll forward. Keen hasn't changed his build. It hasn't gone for, say, a cheeky Storm Razor to find a bit more burst. He's confident with just playing this frontline GP and doing respectable damage along the way. Close to 6 items on everyone. Just a sweet hat left for Kura.
We've been mentioning Ruler a lot in his DPS, but they also do have Cuvée in the top side, who is just about to hit 6-item rise. He's also a massive amount of sustained magic damage on the side. There is a lot of MR built on the side of Afreeca. They have a bunch of Merc Treads, double Banshee Veil on their side, of course the Adaptive Helm, and the Spirit Visage for that frontline GP. So we'll see if he can do that consistent damage up there.
Wait and see how Afreeca try to move this game forward. A dive is so risky, but maybe one of the only ways, if Tucson sees his man and gets him, that's one of the only ways they can move forward. Here we go, zoning under the turret.
Yeah, they're trying to slow them down underneath the Cannon Barrage. It's going to be successful. Look at Ruler just in the back, not doing anything. Going to let this turret go down. Keen eating a bunch of damage, but he's that frontline Gangplank. He's going to be able to get it back, and the bottom line is pushing as well. They're going to send Cuvée down there. He clears out those waves so fast, but unfortunately, they just move away for 1 second. The wall is going to come down, though. The Chains of Corruption's coming in, but everything else missing. Going to engage on a Core JJ here, trying to get onto Cuvée, too. Paranoia comes down, and the Trundle even is so tanky. Ambition goes in, and there it is. The burst devastating at 2. All of a sudden, Cuvée and Ruler in the front line alongside Fly. They have the damage to kill them all, and all of a sudden, Gen G, they're still alive in this game.
Really nicely played by Gen G. They waited. They were so patient, Valdez, waiting to find their spot. They find it, they get two. They're gonna get some time now. They do not go down in that passage of play, and this one could be going for a while.
It definitely will be. Look at Ruler just challenging Kuro. He says, I dare you to jump on me. You're not gonna win the fight. And he's exactly right. At this point, Ruler would probably just four-shot this guy if the LeBlanc missed anything. But let's see how the damage comes in onto the front line of Afreeca.
And we mentioned, how do you actually get to the back line here? And the answer is you can't, Valdez. They were trying to poke down the inhibitor. I think aiming makes a big misread on how to play this fight on the Swain. He's one of the ones who wants to get into range of the enemy. He walks in, and by the time anything happens, he's almost dead. Is Gen.G on the Baron?
Yeah, we're gonna call that replay off. Ambition taking so much damage in his GA. The heal comes in from Fly, actually, to keep him alive, but that's gonna be the go button here, a huge pillar. But it looks like they will not commit to the fight, but lots of low members here on the side of Gen.G. Afreeca looking for that fight. The barrel's gonna come through, delay their backs, and now it's Afreeca's turn to go onto the Baron.
This 44-minute Baron's a killer. 10,000 health, being blown down pretty easily, but Gen.G gonna have to give it up. Very, very simple understanding of Afreeca. Well, the enemy jungler's got no health. This is our Baron. Second time they've got the Baron off spawn here for the side of Afreeca Freecs, but this time they're not going to be trading the Elder. They're going to take it themselves.
And that just might be it. Maybe Gen.G bit off a little bit more than they could chew. They decide, hey, instead of just trying to fight them at the Baron, maybe we take it before they can collapse on us. The answer was resounding no from the side. The Weaver's Wall is going to come in, just trying to get in range. They want to get the steal on in here. Here's Ambition from downtown, and he cannot get the steal in the end. The big engage from Tucson out of 3 in the front line. Kuro is going to burst down Fly as well, and it looks like this is a huge fight for Afreeca Freecs. Ruler in the front line is finally going to go down. But look at Cube in the backside doing the damage. Can he keep their hopes alive? This is a very fed rise, but it's 4-on-1, and he is going to go down in the end. They finally get to the team fight they were looking for, and it looks like Afreeca Freecs will win the game.
They definitely will, Valdez. The Elder buff makes everyone a damage dealer. Spirit just wasting Core JJ's time. It took a long, long time. The trade of Baron for Elder, an inspired one by Gen.G about 8 minutes ago. This time around, though, they have to fight. They don't get the smite, and it will be Afreeca Freecs game 1.
Really fantastic fight for them. I thought maybe Ambition was going to get that steal. It was going to be the most hype steal we've ever seen from downtown on that Nocturne. But either way, guys, Afreeca, they take game number 1. Took 46 minutes, but they finally did it. They pushed in that late game scaling that Gen.G had.
And it all came around. Gen.G's decision to start the Baron after they got 2 picks. Ambition being out of the fight, only a Guardian Angel and 100 health to his name. Afreeca got a Baron. Gen.G went for a 50-50 on the Elder. It doesn't come off, and now Afreeca Freecs win game number 1. Afreeca got so much of an advantage while Ruler was slowly putting together his items, and then we hit the item point where the Marksman comp wins 9 times out of 10. Only the Elder changed that equation. Gen.G still understand that the big mistake here was Ambition, being caught, giving over the first Baron, because that meant the Ruler didn't have the time to hit the damage items before the first relevant fight.
Very true. The entire game wasn't his fault, but either way, a couple of mistakes like that, when you have a guy like Haru on the bench, I think 100% we'll see him subbed out. Kind of unfortunate for him, but I'm excited to see what they can do with Haru in the lineup up against this team.
Watching to see how close this one was. Mission swoops in, he's definitely in smite range, level 18 on both. That was as true a 50-50 as there will ever be. And then you get the Elder buff, everyone does way more damage than before. The full tank builds, and Keen, being about the beefiest GP we've seen in a while, doesn't matter. He's got attack speed, he can apply true damage. Gen.G go down, but it was oh so close.
I love that rise on the backside, nearly getting enough damage to make the 1v4 happen after his Shen had abandoned him. It wasn't enough, it wasn't the team fight they were looking for. But either way, guys, we are going to take another break before we do get into game number 2 of Afreeca versus Gen.G. Really close series. We'll be right back.